nothing comes from nothing.
Right.
And then there's like almost like a standoff, like where like he's just like set in his ways, and you see the two extremes of pessimism and optimism from her, pessimism, and then the scene closes out where they're just staring at each other and they're not saying anything.
Yeah, not just not just pessimism,
Right.
to the point of, I'd say, nihilism, where this guy,
Right.
and it's like you wonder what his life outside of the resort must look like. I mean, when you feel that way about yourself and you feel that way about the world. Hey everyone, Charles here. In this episode of the Mindfully Masculine podcast, Dan and I dig into season 3, episode 2 of The White Lotus, an episode we're calling Bad Dads and Broken Sons. We're talking about what happens when masculine identity is built on money, status, or control, and what it looks like when those things start to fall apart. From Timothy Ratliff's unraveling self-image to Rick's brooding nihilism in a Thai meditation hut, to a lot of weird energy between brothers who maybe need better boundaries. We've got a lot to unpack. If you're watching The White Lotus and wondering what it's really saying about men, masculinity, and modern identity, you're in the right place. And if you want full audio and video episodes, plus bonus content, anything else we feel like putting out into the world, head over to mindfullymasculine.com. Let's get into it.
Good morning. How are you, Charles?
I'm well, Dan. Thank you. I'm a little chilly, hence the outerwear this morning.
It is a little chilly this morning.
I fear it's probably our worst cool spell that we're going to have. Or if I say worst, I mean our last cool spell before Florida summer kicks in, and I'm miserable and complaining for months and months.
I don't know. This week it looked like it's still going to be pretty mild.
That'd be nice. A nice cool Easter time of year would be lovely, but I've been trained to not expect it, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about episode 2 of season 3 of White Lotus, which Dan and I both rewatched very recently. We're recording this on Thursday, April the 10th. The finale happened on Sunday, which I have seen. Dan has not yet seen. So I will work hard I'm not going to spoil anything past episode 2.
You better not.
To the best of my ability.
I'm going to be upset.
But the finale was extremely well done. I found
Great.
like good art. It made me feel a lot of things.
Okay.
And so I really appreciate the way I was saying in our last episode, I don't know how he's going to tie all this stuff together.
I was going to say,
so
that's a challenge.
Pulled it off though. Well done. I really appreciated the work that he did. I mean, referring to Mike White, the series creator, he did. Yeah, it was phenomenal. Definitely. There were things I liked, things I didn't like, but it was still well done. It wasn't like, I don't like this because he didn't do it good. It was like, I don't like this because of what he's doing to, like, either the good things he's doing to characters I don't like or the bad things he's doing to characters I do like. He definitely was pulling on the strings, and phenomenal. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to discuss it with you both on the show and off the show once you've had a chance to watch it. But that guy he's an amazing filmmaker. I like the way, and we'll talk about it in this episode, the way he just sets up these archetypes where it's like, okay, I know who that guy is. I know what that guy is. And I know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
And you get that, but then he also is able to put in little things that you weren't expecting in a way that does not feel inauthentic to who he's established the character to be.
Okay.
And so
it's a natural progression or transition.
But still with surprises. Yeah.
Cool.
Or it's like, Timothy Ratliff is who I thought Timothy Ratliff was the whole time, but then
so it's not like a sharp veer to the left or whatever.
Which is what I feel.
Come on, I'm like,
I hate when shows do
did
that.
you?
Yeah, like
everybody has an epiphany, right?
Exactly.
And now they're just transformed,
right? Where it doesn't really happen that way on this show.
All right,
I really appreciate it. So let's talk about. We'll go with the Ratliff family first. So Timothy, the dad, in episode 2, what we see from him, and again, we're going to say what happens in this episode. So if you haven't seen it yet, stop listening, watch episode 2, and then come back. We go a little bit deeper into what seems to be unspooling as far as his professional life goes. He talks to his office, finds out that there's another reporter from another major newspaper trying to talk to him, which is never good. I mean, that doesn't usually happen for good reasons. That happens for not great reasons. And then he finally is able to make contact with his previous business partner. The two, him and this other guy, went in on this, either creating a fund or something together.
Kenny. Yeah.
Kenny, yeah. And Kenny was voiced by Short Round from Temple of Doom,
Oh my God.
who we also know from Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't he Goonies too?
He was in Goonies as well.
Yeah.
What's his name? I need to look it
It
up.
was Data. Wasn't he Data in Goonies?
I have not seen Goonies since
Okay.
since like it came out.
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was known as Data.
Let me see. So I don't remember much about it.
Oh my God. I'm definitely not remembering. Maybe I'm mixing him up with Star Trek, but I'm pretty sure his name or his nick.
No, we'll clean this up in post.
Yes, it was. It was Data. Oh my God, look at that. Once in a while, my memory works.
Kihai Kwan is the
Yeah.
actor's name.
Yeah.
So he.
I did not know that was okay.
Yeah, it's interesting what they.
But don't say too much about it because
Yeah.
they haven't shown him yet for the ones that I've seen. They haven't shown him at all.
They never show him.
Oh.
Him and Professor Scott Galloway, who we talk about frequently, have only been voice actors on season 3 of White Lotus.
Okay.
In fact, in this episode, I mean, that's not really much of a spoiler. Timothy is on the phone trying to get a lawyer on the phone. Like, I need a lawyer right now.
Yeah.
The lawyer he ends up talking to is voiced by Professor Scott Galloway. Okay. He's got a few podcasts that I like listening to. And he speaks a lot about masculinity and the crisis of young men and all this stuff. And yeah, I'm often sharing some of his clips on our social media for the podcast. And yeah, he's one of the voice actors that's just on the other side of the phone that you never see. And so is Kihoi Kwan. So anyway, him and Ratliff partnered together to, I believe, start some sort of a fund. And then Ratliff mentions a couple things about it. It was apparently involved in bribery and money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
Which, is not good. And also only made him $10 million.
That really put things in perspective.
Like, I can't believe I got myself into this trouble for only $10 million.
Right. So you see they're doing well. But then when he drops that bomb, you're like,
Exactly.
oh, okay. Now I really understand how perhaps isolated or like that family is.
Yeah.
Reality.
Do they mention where they live? Like what part of the U.S. they live in?
Well, North Carolina.
They live in North Carolina.
Yes.
I know they went to school there, but I didn't know.
I think they still live there.
Okay. Yeah. So it's possible.
It's a whole thing.
They could be worth $1 billion. I mean, when you talk that way about 10 million, like he could be like one of these $1 billion fund managers that, fastest growing class in America right now is the billionaire class.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then year to year, from pretty much every year from COVID, like the number of billionaires in our country has just kind of hockey stick growth, as they like to say.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
I'd like to know what industries those are from.
I think
How that played
I suspect it's mostly financial management. People who are in the finance industry. I don't know that it's manufacturing entrepreneurs or even tech. It might be tech, but I suspect it's wealth management.
Okay.
But we'll I can check.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So they could be worth that. That family he could be writing them to be worth that much. But certainly, I'm trying to think how much money I'd have to say I only made 10 million off this.
Yeah.
At least 500 million, I would think.
Probably.
I think I'd have to be worth $500 million to scoff at 10 million now.
But that's the thing too, is like, all right, how much you're worth versus what you're bringing in every year. What's your income?
Yeah.
Right? That's probably would be a bigger indicator for me, not necessarily what you got stocked away, but like what you're bringing in. And anyway, regardless, it's a lot of money for him to go get upset. Like this was not worth it.
Yeah, I wasted my time. And so, yeah, he's acting like the noose is starting to tighten, and you're seeing him behave that way with both the staff and his family.
Yeah.
His family, he's kind of he's not getting as sharp with his family. He's more like a little disconnected, preoccupied. That seems to be ramping up. But when it comes to his interactions with the staff, he's willing to get short and rude with them.
Yeah, especially I remember the assistant's name, where basically she comes around for the phones all the time. Exactly. Yeah, and with something like you'd be a lot less stressed.
Yeah.
If you gave me your phone,
I'd be less stressed to do stuff.
Thought that's good.
Yeah. And you can tell it's really starting to. And then he's complaining about the time change and how he's on
day is night, night is day.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, listen, I heard a long.
You knew this going in. You're going to freaking the other side of the world. It shouldn't be it normally wouldn't be that big of a deal, but considering the stress that he's under,
Right.
that's where you're kind of like, oh my god, the time zone's driving me nuts. Like, really?
And in classic maladaptive behavior, when he starts feeling the pressure on it, he's willing to, in very passive ways, start blaming his daughter for it. Like, this is your fault. We're here because of your thesis, and your this inconvenience is your
Yeah.
fault. Like, not the fact that I engaged in dishonest, illegal business practices X number of years ago, 5 years ago, I think it was. No, that's the problem here is that I
Well,
can't get
see,
I
here's the
can't get
thing is,
people on the phone.
well, okay, so from that episode, it wasn't clear to me whether it was in the past or still was occurring because it sounded like it was still kind of
The
happening
fund
along.
might be open. Well, that's true. He claimed he hadn't talked to this Kenny guy in 4 or 5 years.
Right, but I think that was a fucking lie.
It might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been a lie, or that may have been when the fund's inception might have been 5 years ago. And then look, I mean, if you start a fund and the basis is bribery and money laundering, that's the underlying structure of you may not want to have a lot of interaction with the guy that you started it with.
Yeah,
So
maybe.
I got the impression that this was something they did a while ago,
Okay,
but you're right. I also did. Yeah, it does feel like
because I didn't believe.
probably an ongoing thing.
Right, when the newspaper from the New York Times was asking about Kenny, he's like, "Oh, I haven't talked to him in so many years. I know he's in Brunei." It just sounded like he came across as lying to me.
Like,
So
bullshit,
that's
yeah.
initially I was just like, and then for him to like get right on the phone with Kenny,
It took some time to get him on the phone.
right? But at the same time, it seemed like there was a familiarity there based on the conversation, where it sounded like they talk. It hadn't been 4 years since they had a last conversation.
Yeah, you might be right about
I don't know, but that was,
They
again,
they left the kind of open that thing for people to figure it out.
I'm assuming some stuff.
And Kenny's not doing well. I mean, Timothy's threatening him like, if you sell me out, I'm going to kill you. And Kenny's like, I'm going to kill myself.
And then he's like, "You do it, like
Yeah,
I was like,
like
holy."
encouraging him to kill himself.
He's like, "Yeah, you better," kind of thing.
Right, which is not. All the mentally healthy people I know are not encouraging others to kill themselves. So that's obviously
Yeah.
maladjusted behavior as well. When you have when life throws you problems, encouraging other people to kill themselves is not usually the best way to solve those problems, but it is a way to show how fallen apart this guy is, and frankly how not resilient he is. I think it's not the fact that he might go to prison that I think is freaking Timothy Ratliff out. I think it's the number of steps down his life would take if he ended up there.
And-
You know what I'm saying?
And also, he clearly cares more about his occupation and his job than I think his family and other things in life. So that's his world. And if he gets convicted, he's not going back. He's not going to be able to be back and do what he's doing in the finance space anymore either.
Exactly. And yeah,
So his world is
his identity, his status. I think his family is some of that, but I think most of it is his wealth, his success, his business. And so, yeah, I think he's feeling like, okay, if this,
and the impression, his reputation, his wife like talked about it. It's just like, you did it. Like you made all the money. You've got an awesome family. You've accomplished everything, kind of thing. And so like, and I hear all the time from people, what a good man you are. And so all of that like is going to be completely shattered.
Yeah, it really does come down to identity and who you think you are. And that seems to be the challenge, the stumbling point for a lot of the guys on this show. Let's talk about Saxon. Saxon's continuing to act weird in this episode in different ways. I mean, number one, if you're bunking with your little brother, are you sleeping completely naked?
No, I'm not. No.
You and I have shared multiple hotel rooms, and neither one of us is stripped all the way down and just, I just sleep naked. This is just what I do. So now this is your problem too.
Yeah, I kept my socks on, so you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I never took off the fedora.
So hey,
Yeah. No, that's
freak.
That's very weird. That
Yes.
you share in a room with your brother and sleep in a warm tropical environment, especially where tossing and turning and throwing the sheets off yourself in your sleep is highly likely. So that's again some weird stuff about nudity and sexuality with this family. And as an older sibling, don't sleep completely naked with your,
As a younger sibling, don't sleep.
Yeah. It just gives you weird vibes.
Yeah.
And then let's see, what else did he do that was weird? There was something else that we saw. Oh, joking about not getting a happy ending for his massage.
Right.
Tell that joke in front of his whole family.
Yeah. And mom is a little fit, like a little too much. Like,
It could be a function of her being on drugs. So
yeah.
that could be a factor. Her being a lorazepam addict
Right.
might be prompting those weird, or her weirdness around sexuality and possible previous trauma could be what's
Right,
fueling
like-
her lorazepam addiction.
It could be,
like chicken
right.
or the egg. We don't
Yeah,
really
it's
know.
kind of like it's almost like she'd never heard that joke before.
Right.
Like everybody, I mean,
Everybody does- yeah.
massage and happy ending stuff, and it was just like, yeah, maybe maybe that's to kind of reflect how weird she is about sex in general. Like that's kind of new to her.
Yeah.
Like that oh, you should be like a happy ending, or still so fresh
It's
that you
not
don't
new to
laugh.
me, but I'm going to have this exaggerated reaction to it to act like it is. What? This is crazy. Like, yeah, it was definitely weird. So, so that was weird. Weird about him joking about the happy ending. Weird sleeping naked, and then also I like how he kind of looks down on drug use. Meanwhile, the little sister points out that he's popping Adderall constantly, and he's like, "That's not drug use." It's like,
Right. I do to get shit done. Right.
yeah, it is interesting how, I mean, both lorazepam.
Caffeine can be considered a drug too. I mean, it all does change your state.
Yeah, but yeah, when it comes to pharmaceuticals in particular, it is interesting how, I mean, lorazepam is something she gets from her doctor.
Mhm.
Adderall is something he gets from a doctor, almost certainly.
Yeah.
And we do kind of look at uppers and downers a little bit differently in our society, where at least maybe that's the people who use uppers look down on the people who use downers. And I bet the people who use downers looked,
I don't think you can generalize like that, but
well, he was using uppers, and he is definitely he's speaking against his mom using lorazepam.
Okay.
And I mean, I think people do. I think you can generalize that when people land on a drug of choice,
Yeah.
if they're going to look down at all, they're not going to look down on their own drug of choice. They're going to look down on the people that use the other stuff. And I was getting that from Saxon for sure.
It also could kind of go into his identity of somebody who works hard, gets stuff done, is active. Meanwhile, he sees his mom basically fall asleep at the table.
Right.
And so I think there could be some judgment related to the end result of the drug that you're taking as well. And then just saying, oh, I'm not a drug user. And maybe he's thinking drugs are only stuff that inhibits you and brings you down.
Yeah.
Right. So
It's still, yeah.
You know.
It's, I look down on people who cope with life using a method other than the method that I use. Because the method that I use, that's just smart. That's a life hack. That's the right way to do life, where the way these other people do it is not. Where, I mean, I do a little bit of this myself too. Whenever I've noticed recently, whenever I visit sort of bigger cities and you walk around in downtown areas, and what I've been experiencing lately, it's like everybody reeks of weed everywhere I go in downtown big city areas. And I kind of do like, oh man, you can't make it through the day without lighting up and smoking your weed, because you can't deal with life. Meanwhile, the people who are just popping oxys, they don't smell like anything. So I have no idea that they're up to essentially the same behavior.
could be.
Or the people who are popping Adderall, or the people who are using alcohol at levels where they're not like a homeless wino that's stumbling around the place. It's like everybody's doing something to cope with life. And it's like, well, it's easy for me to look down on the people that do it in a way where it's like, oh, I can clearly tell you're doing this, so therefore, who are you?
I mean, but that's human nature.
Yeah.
It's you're part of my tribe or you're not. Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of,
But it's still,
what kinds of things make me think that you're part of my tribe?
yeah.
I understand.
Are you like me, or are you not?
Are you like,
yeah.
uh-huh,
Are you like
thank you,
me? Do you do the things I do, or
trying to say,
are you someone who's not like me and does other things? And so I try to, when I have those thoughts, I try to remind myself, like, okay, you don't know what their deal is, so chill out. I mean,
and you don't know what life would be like if they didn't do those things.
Right.
Like
And
how would things be? Like maybe this is actually benefiting them in some way.
right, exactly. I mean,
And the alternative would be much worse.
yeah, they could just be a recreational weed user without a lot of motivation, and they just like chilling all the time, and that might be their deal. Or it's like, oh, I'm actually on chemo, so I use this to stop myself from being nauseous and being able to actually eat.
Or like Rick.
It's not my business, but
Right.
I-
Or or like Rick,
Yeah.
it basically was at a stress level of 8. He told the meditation teacher, and,
Yes.
that's when he was like, "Hey, I need some, but weed helps."
Right.
So that makes him a little bit of a nicer person,
Yeah, let's jump into
you
it.
know.
So I really his interaction with the meditation teacher, which
That was good. That first
it was
episode.
very
Really
rich.
like that,
Yes, there was a lot going on there, and it felt a little bit like a first therapy session too in some ways, mostly because of what he was willing to disclose, which is interesting. But the first thing that came to mind was her asking him, "How are you feeling?" And his answer is, "I don't know,"
Yeah.
which is pretty common for people, for trauma survivors. They have difficulty labeling what they're feeling, labeling their emotions, being able to say, "This is what I'm experiencing now in the moment." It's only later, or if maybe not at all, that they're able to actually put a name on what they were experiencing. So I found that was really interesting. Rick lacks the ability, at least in this context, to say what he's feeling and to label it, which is common for people that survive trauma. And he gets into specifically what trauma. His mother was a drug addict, and I guess she OD'd when he was 10, and his father died before he was born.
Yeah. Murdered.
Oh, did he say murdered?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah. And it seems like there's usually a couple of ways people who have that background can go one of two ways in my experience. Either my life is garbage because of what I missed out on, or essentially writing it off like, everybody has their thing. This is mine. Everything's fine. It's fine. It's not affecting me. It's fine.
Yeah.
And he seems to be going down the other road of, yeah, I missed out on some important stuff I should not have missed out on. And as a result, I mean, he talks about not having an identity,
Yes.
having nothing inside of him.
Right.
And so it's almost like I empathize, admire, and respect someone who's willing to say, my needs were not met, and as a result, I'm in rough shape. Like I can appreciate that and I can respect that. But it doesn't seem like he has gone the next step of, and while that sucks now, I have a responsibility to do something about it. It doesn't feel like,
Right.
or he certainly, yeah. And he's in Thailand on some business that we don't know exactly what it's about at this point, but it does seem like he wants to figure out a way to soothe this feeling, but we don't know what that is. And he certainly, whatever he's there to do is preoccupying him from putting anything good into his relationship with his girlfriend, because they are, I mean, she really loves this guy, and he's not really giving her much to work with at all.
No. And she tries to get him constantly, is trying to get him out of his shell, get him to enjoy something.
Right.
And he's just miserable the whole time. And she's like, "Oh, I met Chloe, right? The other woman there, and we've got dinner plans with her boyfriend."
Right.
And he's like, "No, no, 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 no."
Right.
And she goes, "Yeah, we have so much in common. Like, I'm young and fun like she is, and you're old, and he's old, and he's bald, and you're going bald." He's like, "I'm not going bald." And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was right after, not right after, but I think, was it this episode or the episode before that? They were talking about LBHs, losers, where basically old bald white guys, they considered LBHs losers back home. And so
Was that
that was
this early this
yes.
season? Okay.
Yeah. And right. And so it might have, I thought it was in that episode. It may not have. It might have been the next one. I thought it was. And the ironic thing too was, like, right after that scene, they were showing Piper in the yoga class. And if you remember, there was a guy that was standing in front of her, like doing his stretches. He was an old bald white guy, and he kept like looking back at her, like with these creepy looks. Like
Yeah.
every time he did a move, he like crane his neck to kind of give her the eye or whatever. Like way too much. And it was just this perpetual message of creepy old bald white guys throughout this whole thing. And I felt like when Chloe was not Chloe, Chelsea was
Is that
Chelsea.
the name? Are we right?
Chelsea. No, it is.
Okay.
Chelsea, Rick's girlfriend.
Yeah.
She was trying to get him to, I guess, I felt like he was kind of like at a fork in the road where like he wasn't quite bald yet. So it's like where you have a choice now, because that was also right before he went to see the meditation instructor and she was trying to get him to go. And so she was like, "Hey, I think this would be good for you." And basically was like, "Hey, you're about to go bald, so you have it's kind of almost like a fork, a metaphorical fork in the road. You go down this path and become this creepy old bald white guy, or you could kind of change your ways and maybe save your hairline and your life a little bit, right?"
Yeah.
And then I think after that, that's when you went to the meditation instructor. And what was really interesting to me was that she would say, "Hey," he basically was like, she asked him, something about his identity, and he's like, "I don't have an identity." And she goes, "Well, sometimes that can just be a figment basically of your imagination
Yeah,
as well."
exactly.
And he goes, "Well, if you don't put any gas in the tank, nothing,
Car's not gonna start.
car's not going to start.
Yeah.
Nothing comes from nothing."
Right.
And then there's like almost like a standoff, like where like he's just like set in his ways, and you see the two extremes of pessimism and optimism. Optimism from her, pessimism, and then the scene closes out where they're just staring at each other and they're not saying anything.
Yeah, not just, I mean, not just pessimism
Right.
to the point of, I'd say, nihilism, where this guy,
Right.
and it's like you wonder what his life outside of the resort must look like. I mean, when you feel that way about yourself and you feel that way about the world, like what, and he alludes to this with the dinner with Gary, where it's like he I think he alludes in some way to Gary's wealth and the nice houses. Like, so what do you do? And he's like, "I'm retired." Retired from what? All this and that. And it's like, "What about you?" He's like, "Yeah, this and that."
Mhm.
A lot of people around here who do this and that.
This and that. Yeah.
So yeah, you get it's like these are two shady guys. It's almost like two predators recognizing each other. Like
Yep.
we're both not
That's exactly right.
on the up and up here. We're both not the kind of people you screw around with. And it's interesting where, I mean, Gary's the only character, or Greg, as he was in
Right.
previous seasons. It's interesting that he's the only like thread that's run through the whole series.
Well, the massage therapist too.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, she wasn't in the
Oh,
last
we didn't
one,
see her. That's right. We
She
didn't
was
see her in
in
Italy.
two.
Yeah, we saw her in one, and we saw her now.
but they kind of brought her back.
Yeah, but yeah, Gary Gregg. Oof, yeah, he's definitely bad news, and he recognizes that Rick is bad news too. And it's like they're the only two people that really see each other.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that get, okay, I know what's going on here.
Mhm.
That was an interesting dynamic to me. We breezed over Lachlan, but there wasn't really much to Lachlan in this episode. He's basically an open-minded kid who's trying to figure out who he is, I would say.
Right. Well, do you remember the scene? In this episode, he's in the water with his sister.
Oh, where he brings
in
up Saxon's remark.
and he's like, yeah. So he did a sensory deprivation.
Right.
test,
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so she's like, "Oh, hey,
Yeah.
how was it? Did you meditate?" He's like, "No, but I prayed." And she's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Well, I don't really feel anything."
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I definitely feel something." And then he questions her and he goes, "Do you feel something like an external presence because you want to feel something, or is it really, it's real?" And she just like cut him
Oh,
off.
so she was, yeah.
And then he kind of pokes back at
She
her.
felt a little attacked by that.
But what, right. And then but then he was just like, she felt a little attacked. And then he though retaliates almost because she like
And
what he said,
aggressive, wasn't it?
oh, absolutely.
I didn't catch that.
He goes, right, and he goes, "Saxon doesn't think you've had sex." And she's like, what the and
Yeah.
she's like, "Why is he even asking whatever?" And he goes, well, and so then Lockie kind of backs up because he sees you really upset his sister, and he's like, "Oh, well, he said it because you were hot." And like trying to make it
Which makes it
better
worse.
would make it worse. And she's like, "What the fuck? What?
Yeah.
Why is he talking?"
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then they have a little bit more conversation. And then Saxon is so I'm not Saxon. Lockie's so clueless. He goes, she's clearly upset about this. They say something else, and then he
Well,
goes,
have you?
"Well, have you?" And then she's like, "Oh my God." And then she swims away.
You're right.
And I was just like, and then he's like, "Oh, fuck." He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I fucked up."
Yeah,
right?
it's definitely.
He's really trying to
Yeah,
figure himself out and like how to have social interaction.
That is worth
you know?
unpacking. So yes,
Yeah.
he went at her belief system in a way that most people would feel a little attacked about. So that's a lack of social awareness and intelligence on his part, I would say. And then his efforts to try to make it better. It wasn't just you would hope at your best if you if you brought it up in that way, and you could tell you sort of bristled somebody with what you were, hey, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, didn't mean to attack you, my mistake. But it didn't seem like he had either the skills or wasn't able to pick up on that's what happened, and just apologize and back off a little bit. It's like, let it change the subject to something else that's more pleasant. Or
So I don't know about that. I'm thinking maybe he got upset because he didn't know how to handle her being upset at him. And so he's just like,
okay,
he's like, oh, she yelled at me because she made me feel stupid because it's real.
now I'm gonna
And
but
now I'm gonna
stick the knife in a little bit.
right.
Interesting.
Because it's like, well, Saxon said you haven't had sex yet.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, we both have definitely seen
To
that.
try to get back.
We saw that
for some reason.
differently, and I think you're probably more correct on it than I am. But yeah, that is interesting. That yeah, he probably felt a little shamed that I didn't handle this interaction right, so now I've got to defend myself by bringing her down to let's make her uncomfortable too.
Or more, I think where my opinion is he feels then less than her, like dumber than her, because she's like, of course it's real, like talking to him almost like a child. And so him feeling, okay, well, I need to somehow raise my status or bring her down because I see that she's above me when she said it's real. And so maybe it's like, I want to bring her down a little bit. Well, Saxon says, you haven't even had sex yet.
Yeah.
And then he realized he overreached a little bit. And then it just like snowballs badly from there. I think that would be the way I interpret.
No, I think you're onto something there. There's definitely, and again, plus the way this family handles sexuality seems to be a bit weird anyway. And so, yeah, that seems like a dangerous area to poke somebody when there's energy in that family around sexuality, and it seems to be weird energy. So, yeah, very like walking over ground with landmines in it. Like, how do you approach this? How do you bring it up in a way that isn't going to set people off? And yeah, I think Lockie, there may be some trauma in his background, some in his sisters, some in his brothers. It's all just very, strikes me as this is off. This isn't how normal, healthy people in a family interact in this area.
And clearly he respects his older brother quite a bit and kind of looks up to him. So I think maybe that's something, maybe his older brother might say something like that bold and that, hey, you haven't had sex, right? So he's almost pretending, he's almost trying to
play him.
which is
a
mistake, clearly.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Gaitok and
Oh,
what we learned about him in this episode. So he asks Mook to have lunch with him, and I like the way he did it, where he asked her what her plans were, and she said, and he didn't really.
I usually go with the girls.
Right, I usually go with the girls, and he didn't really ask. He said, "Have lunch with me instead."
Yeah,
which is good. That's a good way to ask a girl out for a date, is to not ask, but to tell. Still doing it in a way where they have the ability to say no thank you if they don't want to do it, but it's.
Well, she said why, and he's like, well, I want to talk to you, but he didn't say
That I didn't love.
Okay.
The idea of, anything in the range of we need to talk later is not, that can be anxiety inducing, or at the very least put expectations on someone, like, okay, what's this going to be about? And not always in a positive way.
Yeah.
And so I would not say I need to talk to you as part of a lunch invitation to somebody. I think that's probably not the best way to go. Something along the lines of, because I want to spend some time with you, or because I want to hang out with you, because it would be fun, all strike me as better options than I want to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when they do have the lunch, he gives her a sales pitch, and and it's a sales pitch that focuses on the features, not the benefits as well, where he basically is trying to talk her into going straight to, hey, we should be together.
Yeah.
Because your brothers like me, and
We're from the same town or something, right? Or families know each other or something like that, right?
Yeah, and these are all legitimate reasons to be in a relationship with someone, but when that girl especially is when she's attracted to you and when she's interested in you, she's going to be telling herself these reasons. She doesn't need to hear it from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I found it cringy. I found it cringy and ineffective based on my own experiences. What were your thoughts when he was giving her the pitch?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, it was putting the cart before the horse. I felt
Right.
like you just said, basically, like there needs to be the attraction there. And then it's like, okay, if we're going to stand a chance of moving forward and building something meaningful together,
Right.
those other things then come into play at that point.
Correct. Because he's one of the things we talk about on this show constantly is being over invested in a girl that you're not in a relationship with yet and acting like you're over invested is a killer to attraction, romance, intrigue, all that stuff. He's basically saying, I haven't been on a date with you, but I'm already thinking we should discuss having a life together. And her reaction is, we haven't even been on a date yet.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's even considering her having this role in his life without ever actually going on a date with her, it screams scarcity. It screams overinvestment. It screams inexperience.
And fantasizing about this life together that hasn't happened yet, right? Or that she, like, because he's already on a different level, he's thinking they're ready for that. And then what she laughs at him. She basically is just like, don't be an idiot. Don't be stupid.
Exactly.
Just eat your food. And he's like slowly, he wasn't even eating the whole time. That's what it brought. She even called him out on it.
Yes.
She's like, why aren't you eating your food? And because she was so nervous to talk to her about the whole thing. So the whole thing the whole interaction was not something attractive for her. And then that's when she's just like, all right, look, you just put yourself in the friend zone at this point. Like, don't be stupid. Let's just eat, finish your lunch. And then we'll go on from there.
Yeah. And then so post robbery, after he takes a bunk on the head from trying to get involved in slowing down the escape of the robbers, she is concerned for him and she talks about him being brave and she's worried about him and stuff like that. But which I think he immediately uses that concern for him to erase the fact that she has, whether you want to call it rejected him or just communicated a lack of romantic interest.
Yeah.
He pretends like that all just goes away because she's worried about him after he gets bonked in the head.
Yeah.
Like, a girl can like you, like spending time with you, care about you, and not want you to have a concussion. And that doesn't mean she wants to be your girlfriend.
Right.
And it seems like that really just that was lost on him. Like, so how should he have acted? Well, I mean, number one, it's not our job to tell other people, even fictional characters, how they should behave. But if your goal is to have the possibility of a romantic relationship with this girl, when you should only ask for the next level of interaction. You shouldn't try to skip levels. And he was trying to skip levels. He was trying to sell her on, here's why we should be a couple, when they hadn't even gone on a date together. So if you think the goal is to be in a couple with this girl, then what you need to do is offer her the next step in your relationship, which is, let's go on a date.
Yeah.
Don't ask her to be your girlfriend when you've never been on a date before. Ask her to go out with you on a date and then go on the date with her and evaluate her as a possible fit for the kind of person you would like to go on a second date with. But when I've seen the meme before, it's a person like on a staircase where they're trying to go from step 1 to step 5, and they're like taking a big uncomfortable step to step 5. And that's what he was doing with his relationship with her. He's trying to skip over steps 2, 3, and 4 and just go straight from 1 to 5. And it does look uncomfortable and awkward when you try to do that.
Yeah.
And so if that's the goal, if that's the end goal, if you think she'd be a good match for that, all the more reason to not try to skip there, because it's going to turn her off. If you want her to get on board with thinking, step 5 might be a place I want to be with this guy, show her how good of a time step 2 is. And that if step 2 goes well in a way that both of you agree that it goes well, then go to step 3 and see how step 3 goes. But yeah, he tried to skip to step 5 which makes the expectation and the pressure and the likelihood of a fun, exciting step 2 decrease by at least some measure.
Yeah.
So,
Well said.
yeah. And then he also made the mistake of any pretty girl that I'm attracted to, if she's nice to me for any reason, oh, it's because she's interested in me romantically. And that's another mistake that inexperienced guys will make. Like girls can be nice to you and like you and not want you to have head trauma for reasons other than he's so attractive, he's so sexy. I wish I was in a relationship with him. But the actor did a good job of portraying, okay, she's being nice to me after this experience I had where I got hit in the head, I got pistol whipped. Now she's being nice to me. You're saying there's a chance.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's a mistake on his part.
Yeah. But she does. So that's the thing though. She doesn't ever, like when she shows up and she's like, how are you doing? And he's like, well, I'm better now. She doesn't say anything to reaffirm the
lack of interest.
The lack of interest.
Correct. And most women won't.
And right. And she
that would be mean.
Right. Correct. Right. So I think, like you said, is, oh, I still have a chance now.
Right.
Because she's not being consistent with the message, hey, we're just friends, back off, buddy, type of thing.
Right.
And that's what got, and when I listen, I've been there.
Me too.
I was younger.
Yes.
And unless you hear that, it's, oh, I still have a chance.
Right. But I feel that's on the guy to understand, to be able to
100%,
because
100%, dude.
If your standard is, I'm going to keep pushing until I make her have to be rude to me,
that's a problem.
That's when girls start saying you're a creep. Right. If you can't,
when you're not reading the room,
right? You're not
looking things from their perspective.
You can't pick up on the nonverbals and if you can't pick up on that, then you're basically saying every girl I'm attracted to has to like me back, or I'm going to push her to the point where she's really rude to me. Yeah. And then I'll probably complain about her being a bitch or being mean or being a tease. And it's like, dude, whatever you have to do to not be that guy, don't be that guy. And I mean, I don't know that he has it in him to be that guy, because they're writing this character as being very nice and very polite and very passive. And I mean, all those things, it's okay to be those things, but you're just going to you're going to get things to the point where she feels like, okay, I have to be rude if you're going to keep refusing to get it, or I just have to be very kind of passive with, yes, I'll accept you. You get to be my friend who has a crush on me, but every time you try to get out of that space, I'm going to shut it down.
Yeah.
Which is where the more attractive thing to do for him is to be like, hey, look, this is the nature of the relationship I want with you. If you're not willing to have that relationship with me, then we just won't have a relationship, and I'll be able to move on to other prospects. And that's okay. And that's a strong and loving thing to do. When somebody's not willing to meet your needs, then you have to be willing to say for yourself, okay, well, I need to be in relationships where my needs are met, and you're not willing to provide that. So this crushy friendship I have with you is going to get in the way of me finding that with someone else. So I have to leave it behind.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do.
It's not.
But
no.
I mean, what's the other option? You look up 10 years later and you're still in a close friendship with a girl that you're crushing on, who doesn't want.
Right. And it's probably inhibited you from doing a lot of other things and finding a lot of other connections.
Right. And it's probably not inhibiting her. It's she's going out there and dating the kinds of guys she wants to be with. And then you get to hear the stories about it.
Right. So she's getting her having her cake and eating it too.
Right.
She gets that friendship and that connection from you. But
which in a lot of cases, that's fine. She's not doing anything wrong by that. If she's communicating her lack of interest in a way that you're just refusing to accept it.
Yeah.
And she keeps you around, that's on you. That's not on her.
And it's not to say that you can't separate and then come back as friends after you've kind of established yourself with connecting with other people, and you can actually look at the other person as just a friend. And I have done that in the past, where it's just like I was crushing on somebody and she's like, well, I just look at you as a friend. And I'm like, well, I can't be just friends with you right now. I stopped talking to her for like a couple of years. It was hard because we were in classes. And like, she didn't make it easy because I heard from the grapevine that she's so upset that I wasn't her friend anymore every once in a while. And I
Right.
was just like, well, okay. So, but in the end, it was the best thing I ever did because we come back and we weren't ever as close as we
Right.
were at the beginning, and that was intentional and that was a good thing. But now it's a pure platonic type of
Yeah,
thing.
it's interesting. It's like,
So
I understand you're disappointed that we can't be close friends anymore, but don't worry. The same skills that I'm building to not get to be your boyfriend, you get to build those skills by not being my friend. It's like,
interesting. Yeah.
we'll both we'll both develop some resilience from not getting exactly what we want out of this relationship exactly on our own terms.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I appreciate that you've enjoyed being my friend. Maybe the guy in the scenario does have a little bit of responsibility. Well, I should have come clean sooner, and then we could have saved us both a little bit of this discomfort,
Yeah.
but I didn't. So here's where we are. You want to be my close platonic friend. I want to be your boyfriend. Neither of us are going to get what we want. And hopefully that will make us better at the next relationship we find ourselves in.
Yeah. Yeah. If only you'd been around when I was in junior high to tell me that.
Well, I would have been in grade school, so I would have only had 3/4 of this wisdom.
Resilience.
Yeah. How dare you? I knew what resilience.
No, I didn't know what it was. I'd be like,
I would have defined
what is this R word?
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
or I would have given you a different R word. All right, let's stop there for today, Dan. We'll hit episode 3 next with the aftermath of the. Oh, one thing I also thought was I want to say about Rick and Chelsea. She felt like she was in real danger during that robbery.
Yeah.
As any person who, the first time you've had a gun pointed at you, you're going to feel like I could have died.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, no, you didn't. I mean, on several occasions, she's like, I could have been killed, or I was almost killed, or whatever. No, you weren't. Just dismissing it completely out of hand. And then, yeah, he's able, the part where he's a prick to her the whole episode, but at the very end, when he started feeling horny, he was very happy to use her to comfort himself through some sex.
Yeah.
And she seemed to be up for letting him do that. I mean, it was.
Well, she came to him and he was like, protect me.
Right.
And so, and then she hops on top of him. So I feel like that was more about her. He didn't really have to twist his arm. Clearly he was into it.
Correct. Yeah. But the fact that he downplayed her experience until her experience was, now I want physical intimacy to feel better about what I went through. Oh, okay. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can't throw a, yeah, that sounds really scary. I'm sorry you went through that. That's too much.
Right.
Having you on my lap and initiate sex with you, that's easy. I can handle that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that spoke to just his drives as a man, but also his immaturity and inability to address things in any other way other than, I'm going to get mad or I'm going to get horny. That seems to be what he's capable of at this point in the show.
Oh, I also wanted to mention at the end of this episode, there's a little foreshadowing there where Dad walks away basically to take the phone call, and he's getting off the phone trying to get that lawyer. And after he gets off the phone, or was it the lawyer? Or was he talking to Kenny? I don't remember. It might have been the lawyer. Yeah, because Kenny told him get a lawyer yesterday. So he sees his family walking back to the lodge or to the cabin, and you hear Lockie talking about when there was a tsunami in Phuket.
Yes.
And the little girl was basically saying she just
studied
learned
geology, so she knew it was coming, but nobody
all the
believed.
sirens, nobody believed her or whatever.
Right.
And then it kind of fades off, and so the dad, and then they walk into the house, and then you see just like this look of terror in Timothy, his face, where he's just like, yeah, I think he sees a tsunami coming and his family does.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I thought it was a little
well done.
I thought that was really well done. I was like, holy cow,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I feel, and again, what we've seen so far is the only guy who seems to be just acting normal is the massage therapist that Belinda's there to work with.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only guy that's not done anything weird yet.
Right.
And I remember at this point, this episode and the next episode, I'm like, man, I hope this guy doesn't get weird. I hope they just keep him as a chilling guy who just knows how to deal with people, knows how to talk to people, doesn't do anything strange or show his mental illness, wear it on the sleeve.
Yeah.
And so far, so good.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Dan. We'll talk to you next time for episode 3.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening all the way through. Dan and I appreciate you being here. We've got more White Lotus masculinity breakdowns coming, so make sure to join us for the next episode. In the meantime, you can find full audio and video episodes and whatever else we're up to over at mindfullymasculine.com. See you next time.